Caramia, I'm sorry, Carmine. Caramia, hi, Jim Delapine here. I want to give you some suggestions with regards to this wonderful character. I love what you did with the text here, and everything is looking great. I see you worked really, really hard on this, and you did a lot of experimentation and applause. So let's look at what you have here. Let me just, first of all, I see you have a glow around the sword here. Okay, so that's let me see. Let me just rename that so I know for later. Okay, so I want to first talk about your shadow. I see that you have it looks like a kind of a drop shadow, but it's not a layer style, which you have behind there, and that really pops out your character. So that's an interesting way to do it, and I'm going to say that's fine. That's fine. That looks great. But I want to also, you need to throw a shadow of Todd onto a surface. So let's just do this. I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to hide all of these because that's your cat. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll click and scroll down to the bottom and shift click all of these layers here. And then I'm going to hit Control Alt Shift E to combine all of those into one layer, which we see here. If I Alt click on the visibility icon, I see that it's only the character there. And then I'm going to drag that out of the folder. Okay, so now let me go back in and show all of these layers again. You have so many. Let's see here. Let me just show all these now. All right, and where's the text? I hid that somewhere. Let me close the folder so I can see better. What is going on here? Where's the text? I lost it. Character reflection. It would probably be under name. So if I open that, yep, there we go. Okay, so let me show all these. Okay, so now up top here, I'm going to control click on the thumbnail for that merged layer. All right, and then I'm going to create a new layer and fill that with a medium gray. All right, so what I did was I clicked on the foreground color and just chose the medium gray here. Hit OK, and then Alt Delete would fill that selection with the gray. I'll deselect and I will hide the underlying layer, and for now actually I'm going to bring this to the top. All right, and then hide it, and then let me show it again, and then what I'll do is I will hit Control T and on the shadow, and then hold down my Control key and pull down the middle bounding box. And first I'm going to just let me see here. I'm going to pull this down to here. All right, and then I'm going to hit Enter. And then I'm going to put a selection around the bottom of the shadow, all right, to the horizon. And then I'm going to hit Control T again, and then hold down my Control key and click in the middle top bounding box and pull that to the left. As I'm dragging, I'm holding down the Shift key. All right, I want this to be at an angle here. Okay, note I've separated everything, which is, fine. I did it on purpose. All right. So now I'm going to use my right arrow key to increment it over so that it makes sense, so it's falling underneath the feet. And then I'll hit Enter. All right. Now I'm going to select the upper portion, and I'm going to very carefully click and drag here to select the upper portion of the shadow. And I'm going to drag all the way over here. Now note I'm missing that part, so I'm going to add to the selection by holding down Shift. Notice I'm in the rectangular marquee tool. Shift and click and dragging around here. So that adds to the selection. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Control. Now, let me just explain that a little bit. So Shift adds to the selection. If you hold down the Alt key and click and drag, whatever you surround will be I'll subtract that selection. Okay, if that makes sense. All right. So now I'm going to go to the Move tool, and then now I'm moving all these pixels over so I can hit my left arrow key, and that will slide it over. And I want to kind of match it up to the base of the shadow there. All right. So right in here, and let's just make this a little more dramatic. I can hit Control T and pull this up a little bit, and right about there. Okay. I'll hit Enter and deselect. Okay, now I know it looks weird, but go with me. Okay, so now we're going to put this into multiply mode. All right, any shadow should be in multiply mode. All right, so we have a shadow that's falling onto the text, but also onto the background, which doesn't make sense. We want to eliminate that shadow on the background and only want it falling on the text. So if I go to the text, all right, notice on layer 8. Okay, so it's the top layer. So I'm going to control click, I'm sorry, with the move tool and auto select selected, I'm going to find out where the text is, and it's actually over here. So control clicking down here. Here's Todd. Okay, so I'm going to control click here, but I don't want that. I want the underlying text, which is where? It's over here. So control click here. Okay. So now that I have that selected, I'm going to go back up to my shadow, okay? And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a layer mask, okay? And that should eliminate part of the shadow. So if I click on the layer mask with that selection active, it's going to do that. Okay, so now it falls only onto the text. All right. So that being said, but that, let me see, let me undo that, because that means that this portion is eliminated. So what you can do is this. You can go to your paintbrush tool, and all right, here's the advantage of channels. All right, I'm going to show you something here. Select, save selection, hit OK. All right, so I now save that channel. All right, it's that. Okay, so now I'll go back to the layers, deselect, and now I'll create a layer mask for that layer. This is probably very confusing. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. All right, so now I want to eliminate the shadow from where it falls onto the sky area. I'll call it the sky, but not the ground. Okay, so I'm going to now go back to my channels and reload that selection. I'm going to use that selection to protect where I want to paint out. All right, so back in layers, I'm going to select the layer mask, and with black as my foreground color, I'm going to inverse the selection. All right, so right now if I paint, I'm removing the shadow from here. I want the opposite. So let me Control Z. So I'm going to hit Shift F7 so that everything else but the text is selected. Then making sure that I'm at 100% hardness, and my paintbrush is, I can go larger. I'm going to hit my right bracket key. Now I'm going to paint out or mask out the areas over the sky. All right. I want to keep it on the base though, so I'm going to click and shift click here. Okay. So wherever it falls on the sky is where I'm painting it out, and the text is protected from being eliminated. All right. So there we go. All right. So Control D to deselect, and there we go. So now we have a shadow that's falling onto the text, but not the sky. So now the next step is this. Now also don't forget, you have control over this. You can lower the opacity, whatever looks right. Okay. All right. So next step is, let's have fun with this. All right. I'm going to take one of these R's and remove the R and place it in the sword, as if the sword is stabbing the R, because Todd is terrible. So that's what he did to the text. Okay. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to my move tool, find out where terrible is, which is over here. So it's right here. All right. So now you have layer styles in here and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is Since there's a layer style that looks like it has a drop shadow, so if I double click on this FX, I see that you have, yeah, a number of layer styles in here. So we want to retain that. So what I'm going to do is right click on this layer and select rasterize layer style. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my lasso tool and I'm going to zoom in. I'm using spacebar control to zoom in, and I'm going to surround this R. So I'm going to start to drag with the lasso tool, then hold down the Alt key. This frees up my hand. Now I can let go of my cursor button, my mouse button, and I'm going to my shift key is held down now. So I'm clicking, 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 and I'm coming right up the middle of that, between the R's, because I want to keep that shadow. All right, and I'm letting go. So now I'm going to separate this. I'm going to remove this from this word here. So I'm going to bring this to a new layer. So the shortcut for that would be Control Alt Shift J. Control Alt Shift J will copy that to a new layer above. It says you can rename it. I'll hit OK. So now it's on its own layer and removed from the underlying layer. Okay? So now you have control over this. So I'm going to take this new R here, and I'm going to drag this down. Whoops, it gets a little funky here because you have it in folders. I don't put things in folders because it negates that control. I mean, there's a shortcut for it. I just forget what it is. So now I'm going to take it out of the folder, and I'm going to bring it up above the caricature. All right, wait a second. Actually, let me hide the upper portion here. Actually, it should be above this one, because this one I'm going to ask you to sharpen. So I'm going to bring that R all the way to the top. All right, so it's on top of everything. All right. Then what I'll do is I'll hit Control T, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit. All right, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to position this so that it looks like the sword's kind of stabbing it through the center of that R. All right. So I want this to be more in the foreground, closer to the viewer. So that means that it should be a little larger. And also note that it gets a little brighter because you had a black shape over the top of Terrible with lowered opacity, which is fine. I understand the reasoning behind that, so I'm going to do that. I don't know about that glow, but we'll talk about that shortly. So now what we'll do is create a layer mask for that R. All right, so what we're going to do is have the sword go through part of the R. All right, so we have to go down to where the sword is. So the sword is, actually we could just control, no, let me, if I control click, yeah, that'll work. On our merged layer, all right, I just control clicked on that to make that a selection, because all I want is a selection to keep my mask contained. All right, I'm going to use this selection as a guideline. So now with the layer mask active in my paintbrush at 100% opacity, I'm sorry, 100% hardness. I don't need it quite that large, so I'll use my left bracket key to reduce it. I'm going to mask out this part of the R. Right? So now it looks like it's going through the R. All right, I'll deselect. Actually, let me just, I want a shadow now falling underneath here. All right, so actually this glow is, let me just get rid of the glow for now. Where is that glow? Down here. Let me hide that. Yeah, and the glow is also on that other layer, so yeah, it's okay. All right, so let me just hide that. So now what we want is a shadow falling onto this part of the R where the sword's going through. And I mistakenly put that glow on the merged layer. I should not have. So now I will do this. I'll control click here, and now I will create a new layer and go to my paintbrush tool. Gray is my foreground color. I'm going to go to maybe 30% hardness, and on this, where's my new layer? I thought I made a new layer, so I'm going to create a new layer. Oh, I did it down here. Yeah, because I should have had, um, when you create a new layer, it will become new and it will place itself above the currently that active layer. So I had it over here. So now what I'll do is I'll go back here and control click again. And now I'm going to paint on that new layer a shadow. But note that I'm painting inside the selection. So let me undo that. I need to inverse the selection, Shift F7. And now I'll paint here. I should have had that the shadow layer above. Okay. So I'm painting there, and then I'm going to put that into multiply mode. All right. Now it fell into the background, so I want to eliminate that. So I'm going to control click on the R thumbnail right here, and now I'll inverse that selection, Shift F7, and on the layer mask I'll paint that part out. Whoops, wait, that's not working. Oh, that's because, all right, never mind. So what I'll do is I'll erase this from this layer. Whoops. Uh, all right, I have to make sure the background is active. So where the R is, I painted that shadow on this layer. All right, so I have to have this layer active, the shadow layer active. I want to simply erase that from that part. All right, so there we go. Um, so yeah, so that's it. I know I'm going on very long, but so I think that's pretty effective. All right, that makes Todd terrible by doing that to the R. Okay, you can put the glow back in if you want. One last thing, just as a suggestion, I think this would make this more dramatic, is if you go to the reflection. All right, this is the reflection here, right? And you select that and hit Control T, and then go to Edit, Transform, Perspective, and pull out the bottom left or right bounding box, and that will give it a nice perspective. All right, so and then hit Enter. So there you go. So I think that's pretty effective. Did I do something odd here with the shadow? Oh yeah, I brought it above. Let me see something here. How did I do that? So that should be below the character. Yeah, there we go. All right, so and there's something else going on here. I have something behind here. Where is that? There we go. All right, so so you did a terrific job overall. All right, so I hope that helped. Take care.